Hey, thanks for tuning in to Unmaking a Mess with Darlene Morgan. Because there's many messes that I've been in and I have created, and I am still here, so I know that God has a purpose for me. And if you have some messes of your own, I know God has a purpose for you as well. So I am using my life experiences as a way to connect and relate to others. I mainly write from a single mom perspective, but I really hope that I'm reaching a wide audience. You can find me on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and my online blog, Unmaking a Mess, all titled the same. So definitely reach out, comment, share, subscribe. Appreciate you all, most definitely. Excuse me a second. Okay. All right. So this is going to be kind of unusual because I just wrote this afternoon and I'm recording it. It hasn't even gone live on my blog yet, but here's the deal. A little bit of who I am. I most often am writing after I've come outside from mowing or running or exercising. Well, today in particular, I actually had a meeting with someone talking a little bit about a job. And so that's another post for a later date because obviously I want to catch you guys up on everything that's been going on in my life. And yeah, so I thought, hey, I'm actually in a dress today. You can't see the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, a dress. And I thought, why not get a post recorded because you might not always see me this way. I actually have my hair down. Anyway, I'm really going off subject here for something. And I wanted to get this written down and record it for you guys. So anyway, this one actually began a few days ago because I kept seeing these posts on social media that were really getting quite ugly, a lot of things that were making me feel really anxious to the point where for the first time in a very long time, I had to put a couple of posts on mute or whatever you want to call it for 30 days so I didn't see them because, stuff out there can get really negative and pessimistic. And for someone like myself who suffers from anxiety and takes medication for it, I just had to turn it off. I wrote a post on my personal page that I'd be happy to share with you regarding some of these posts that I started seeing, because it occurred to me that, it's not just me that this is affecting, but it's also affecting a lot of people. And it reminded me of who I used to be, how I looked. And I said to myself one day after reading one of these memes that was just really critical, I read it and the first thought that came to my mind was, oh, wow, that's how I used to look. And so I decided, Darlene, you got to get this in writing. And even though I have approached this subject before, probably not quite like this. And so I think it's always worth remembering and bringing to the surface again. So this one I have titled Ugly Talk. And I'm going to be reading from my blog, which once again you can find online, Unmaking a Mess. And I would love for you guys to read it as well and share, and make sure you leave your comments. I will have a couple of questions at the end of this for you that I'd love to hear what you have to say. So please continue to listen in, kick back, and anyway, here it goes. Ugly Talk. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. I used to say things that really made me ugly. I am a firm believer that we really are all wonderful and beautiful people, but even the ones that have the most stunning features, gorgeous cheekbones, beautiful eyes, natural beauty, can give off an appearance of being so ugly by the things that they say. I know I've touched on this subject before, but it's an important reminder and part of history I reflect on when I talk about using your past. I feel like I may be one of the best persons to discuss it because I've had areas in my past that I can really draw on experiences from and use as a testimony that God can change you if you're really wanting to change some things or parts of your life that you know really deserve something else. So anyway, during the last couple of years of my marriage, I was really bitter, angry, and hurt. I was upset my marriage wasn't a vision of what I imagined a marriage to be. This is something I desperately want to go into another time. I think it's vitally important to address in hopes that I can use my errors in marriage as a way to help others in their own situations. I used my writing during that particular time to reflect all those emotions in the most passive-aggressive way possible, knowing exactly what I was doing. My words were that of circumstances that were happening or perhaps not happening in my marriage, and a reflection of the emotions that I was feeling. I've come to discover passive-aggressive talk can be just as harmful as direct, contentious remarks that you see written or spoken. The comments, posts, memes, discussing religion, right, left, skin color, gender, hair color, age, anything that is used as a way to damage character or an attempt to convince you that one side is holier than thou. I wrote down a definition of passive aggressive. It is said that it's being marked by or displaying behavior characterized by the expression of negative feelings, resentment, and aggression in an unassertive, passive way, as though procrastination or stubbornness. That was me. Example, a passive-aggressive behavior. The donning of a mask of amiability that conceals raw antagonism toward one's competitors, even one's friends. Another example, that it says, in part, a manager may feel hostility that causes others to feel distinctly uncomfortable with him. Hostile and contentious definition. If something is hostile, it's unfriendly, obviously. If you are zealous about the political causes you believe in, you will be hostile to any suggestion that the other side of the argument is reasonable. Let me read that again. If you are zealous about a political cause, and I'm going to include religious cause or any other type of cause you believe in, you will be hostile to any suggestion that the other side of the argument is reasonable. So I included those to kind of give you an idea of the kind of person I was, the kind of things that I'm seeing now. When I see these comments or when I hear these words on social media, when I see the commercials, I look the other way now and I try not to absorb it too much because I am determined to keep as much negativity out of my life as possible. Okay, this may not make sense to include this next story, but I'll get to the point of the ugly talk that I used to use at the end of this example. Religion. I recall early in my marriage, a non-family member was trying to get me to take tracts, like pamphlets and stuff that made Catholics look bad. They wanted me to take these things to my mom because she was Catholic. I was both hurt and honestly appalled. My mom had been a Catholic since she could remember, pretty much since she was born and baptized. There was no changing her. And just because I married into a different type of religion should not have made me feel guilty for my mom's beliefs in a way that made me feel like I should try to change her. I read the tracts anyway, and I remember talking to my mom very briefly about her feelings of being Catholic. Her husband had overheard me and was quite upset that I would make the attempt to change her. I felt absolutely awful. My tiny mom only knew one way of Christianity and lived by it since she could remember. She always identified as Catholic, even though she had gotten away from it because of how she was treated when her and Dad divorced. She was horribly ridiculed. There's a story behind it that may surface later, or in this book that I'm really trying to write about my life. Anyway, that may surface later. It's a story that I'm sure many of us can relate to, but also a story that says, none of us deserve to have stones thrown at us when we have all done something that deserves even the smallest of stone to be thrown. My mom was made to feel bad about being Catholic when she got a divorce. So who was I to question her values when they had already been done simply because someone told me to do this? I remember the conversation that went into priming me to talk to her. I was told, "Now, honey, you know being Catholic doesn't save you." Or, "Don't you want to see your mom in heaven too?" Real talk that is made to make you feel, or in this case, made me want to question everything I believed in. It made me angry and hurt, and even thinking about it now is upsetting. So I'm going to stop there. What I learned from this was how my actions affected my mom and others, as you'll come to see. My mom and I had our differences, but at this time in both of our lives, we needed to redevelop a mother-daughter love and connection first, since we had years of turmoil due to the relationships that she had been in. That, to me, is an important aspect about expressing beliefs to someone. It requires a relationship with them first, which I know we cannot always do through social media. We need to let them know that we truly care about someone in a way that they know that they can trust you and you can trust them. I never knew exactly what my mom believed in. I knew she was Catholic, but toward the end of her life, she did pray with me in her most tired and fragile way possible. We said a prayer together, and I knew God was there for her. This is just one example of passive-aggressive behavior and communication I went through myself, mainly during my marriage, which was no reason for me to retaliate. But this is a perfect example of how ugliness and the enemy, as in Satan, can use us one by one. I took that hurt and resentment and I placed it into words that I used in my blog and my social media posts. Where I'm going with this post is there is so much being said on social media that can cause us to question our beliefs, question who we are, question who we will vote for, question what we eat, how we dress, how we exercise, if my God is better than your God, if my parenting is better than yours, and it can all be put in a way that can really be hurtful and cause some serious anxiety. Not to mention the fact there are so many young minds out there that are being molded by social media. Do we really want to create more ugly in the world? It took me a long time and plenty of therapy and mentoring for me to realize many of the ways I thought for myself were not always good for others. My thoughts did not have to go out into the world during my most destructive times. I thought what I was doing was for the betterment of me and others. It was not. It only caused people to look at me with distrust and sadly disgust. Do you know how long it took me to regain a favorable image? A long time. That saying, if people won't remember what you said, they will remember how you made them feel. It's so true. But then again, words on social media stay on social media to be seen over and over and over. I wanted my daughters to see me in a different light. The older I became taught me that when I die, I definitely did not want to be viewed as the person people dreaded seeing in person or through social media. I want to be remembered as the one who encouraged and changed from being bitter to hopeful, and as Jesus would want. So my question to you is, do you ever think about how you want to be remembered? Do you think about the last thing you write or wrote or said to someone and how that might be the last thing they saw? It's a tough one, I know, but sadly, we just never know the day we will die. God does, but we don't. So I leave you with that ugly talk and how it makes us look. I know it's really hard to conceal our emotions and our feelings, or when we're sad, when we're grieving, when we're angry, or when we're hurt or we're being hurt. I know it. However, there's so many out there that really love and care about how you are feeling. So I want you to think, who is it that you can trust, that you can really, really exhibit those words and painful moments to, that will not judge you, but realize you have to vent, you have to get it out in the open. But you know that it's spoken to, it's put out there, and it's gone. Do you have a journal you can write in where you can just write it down and let it go? I know that is something that people write about often. Write it down, but don't put it on social media. I was told that numerous times, but for some reason I felt I had to defend myself and I had to put it out there. We don't have to defend ourselves. Do you know why? Because God already knows. He knows the outcome. He will defend us when the time is right. And that is what I have for you. And that is exactly what He did for me. But you have to be changed, and you have to reason with yourself that your thoughts do not always have to be shared, especially when they can hurt or damage others or reframe a very young mind. I love you all. I appreciate you. I did this in an absolute heartbeat because I wanted to get a recording done. And I just want to say it makes me really thankful that I can do this. I want to keep doing more of it, and I will. And I really hope to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts on how you want to be remembered and what you can do for yourself. Let me also know if there's a way I can help you. I'm absolutely willing to share so much of my life so that you can use my experiences as a way to keep from making the same mistakes I did. Okay, signing off. I'm going outside into this Kansas sauna to finish up some yard work because we got a big storm last night, and so my yard is just strewn with all sorts of branches, but it's a great way for me to release a lot of emotion. So that's another way to handle things. I've got more to write, more to update you on. I just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please share, subscribe. God bless you all. Do what you can. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And remember, with God, it is possible. He won't take away those challenges, but with Him, He can make it a lot easier for you to go through them. Y'all take care, and I will be back soon.